Bookends. Welcome to a 10-minute check-in. I'm 10.
I'm 2.
Two's calling it in. So this, as usual. So this is the third week of the Blackathon, and we're going to be reviewing 2 books from our Blackathon TBR. That's my son in the background. Yes, so we're going to be reviewing
the background.
So we're going to be reviewing 2 books from our TBR. Yes, it's for alternate history. The first one is going to be Underground Airplanes by Ben Winters. We have differing opinions on this book, so stay tuned for that. And the second book is Lion's Blood by Stephen Barnes. I don't know if we have differing opinions on that one, but we definitely have differing opinions on Underground Airplanes. So to give you a brief synopsis of what Underground Airplanes is, it is an alternate history fiction with African Americans where the Civil War never took place, but slavery did end for most of America. There are still 4 states called, I think the Hard 4, right? Yep, so there's still 4 states called the Hard 4. They still believe in slavery. The rest of the United States is free. But here's the thing though, if you're an African American in the United States, there's still heavy racism. So let's just say you live in New Jersey, which is not a part of the Hard 4. The Hard 4 is down south. Let's just say you live in New Jersey. You want to stay in a hotel, you got to write down your social security number, address, name. Not just your name, but your social security number and everything to prove that you are a free African American or a free black. So racism is still heavy. Also, oddly enough, even though the Civil War did not take place, the Civil Rights Movement did, because there's still streets named Martin Luther King Boulevard. So I found that interesting. So this book, the lead protagonist, his name is Victor, or at least that's his alias or pseudonym, Victor. We don't know if, at the beginning, whether it's an alias or, well, we know it's an alias, but we don't know why. So in the beginning of the book, he's speaking to a preacher, and he's making out as if, you know, my wife, she's been sold into slavery and I need help. Preacher's like, sorry bro, I can't help you, sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. So they're at a diner, and the priest offers to pay for his dinner because they have dinner together. When the priest offers to pay, he pays instead, but he snatches, like, he steals the priest's wallet. And I'm like, why are you stealing the priest's wallet? He's just there to help him. But anyway, so he steals the priest's wallet. As it turns out, this man don't have any wife anywhere. He just did that because he believes that the priest is a part of a group called Underground Airplanes, and he's responsible for finding, so the black guy whose name is Victor, he's responsible for finding runaway slaves and bringing them back to the plantations in the Hard 4.
Going out to look.
Huh?
Victor is the person going out to look for them.
Yeah. So he doesn't really seem to have any sympathy when it comes to black people. He describes them in a horrible way. But when he sees this white lady, he's saying, no, like when he's monologuing, like when you're reading his thoughts, like his actual thoughts, he has a hard description when he's describing other black people. But then when he describes this white lady that he sees at a hotel, he describes her in a kinder fashion. And even her son, who looks like he's half black, he describes him as a handsome yellow boy. And I'm like, you ain't calling none of the black people handsome, but all of a sudden this little yellow skinned boy, he's handsome? Like, it's almost like self-hate. Huh?
Using mix.
He said yellow. Like, and when he was inner monologuing, it's on page like 30. That's what he said, like a handsome yellow boy.
He still say mix.
He didn't say mix though. So what ended up happening, I'm saying, like, I'm letting them know like how he spoke and like how he made a clear demarcation as to how he, like if I said, you know, oh look at that cute cat. Yeah, or if I said, ugh, look at that dog, that disgusting dog. Oh, look at that cute cat. Oh, you can tell I like cats. not dogs. So the way he describes black people and the way he describes white or supposedly mixed people, because we don't know at the beginning of the book whether someone's mixed or not. We don't even know if the kid's hers. We just know that they exist in the same area and they're going in the same direction. And so, yes, basically the book is about Victor hunting down people. Martha is the name of the white lady who he becomes enamored with. Now, let me let you know this. No black people in his past has made him not want to chase down black people and have them brought back to the plantation. You know, he's doing this for hire. No one in his past has made him do that. But all of a sudden, this white lady with a half-black kid is the one catalyst that made his heart sing and want to stop what he was doing. I want to say a word that begins with an N, but I'm not going to say that because I'm better than that, at least on camera. But this dude, I'm saying I'm better than that on camera. I'm better than that on camera. This dude, this Uncle Tom, I'm like, he not my uncle, but he's somebody's Uncle Tom. Like, he... Mr. Dime Dropper. That's what I want to call him, Mr. Dime Dropper. I want to call him Victor. And top it all off, he was a slave himself before too. Like, he spent his childhood as a slave. And he like, oh, I'm trying to push that to the back of my head. Nah, bruh. Nah. Bring that to the front.
When you speak into your mentality, you gotta think on those same lines too. Why the person becomes like that?
Harriet Tubman, though.
And other people were not like this, then yes, he's going to feel a certain sort of way. Even though it's not right, no matter how you look at it, in his mind, it's like, well, that's not my problem that this is happening to
That's
you.
the problem.
Even though these people are the ones who are guilty for treating you this way in the first place. There still will be the fact that you didn't have the people who were black that were giving you the things that you needed.
But they couldn't do it. Like, okay, he grew up on a plantation.
He's looking at it as, well, I have this new taste, supposed of freedom, but he's still thinking on the lines of himself. And many people do it, will think on the lines of themselves. If it means taking you and me keeping my freedom, then so be it. You've been me. So, that, I mean...
That's kind of how he was acting, too.
If you hear it enough, that's what you're going to think.
He was
just believe that this is the way that's right instead of understanding that it's wrong.
He also inner monologued about like how the novelty of being able to drive. I think he had an Altima, beaten up Altima. So he was monologuing about just having the freedom to be able to walk around to wherever he wanted to and to drive his Altima. But he was still getting stopped by the police, of course, because all black people get stopped randomly by the police to make sure that they're not a runaway slave from the Hard Four. So it's like, what bothered me, I really wanted to see who the author was. That really ate at me. I really wanted to see. I didn't jump ahead. I didn't Google him. I decided I'm going to read this whole book first. Then I'm going to find out who this dude is. And when I saw who it was, it kind of confused me. So the guy who wrote it, he's a white guy. I didn't look at the back of the book or do anything. I did this afterwards. So the guy who wrote it, either he is an incredibly light-skinned black guy, or he's mixed, or he's white, but this is the author. And I was very confused because the way that the man was written, the way Victor was written, he was very self-deprecating. When I say self-deprecating, he wasn't against himself personally, he was against his people. So it's like saying I can't stand women even though I'm a woman, or saying I can't stand black people even though I'm a black person. So that's what I mean by self-deprecating, not against his own self but against his own people. And so so looking at the author, I was confused. Looking at him. He's like a white guy.
If you think about a person who's been in a position like that, if you sit back and you wonder about people and what makes a person self-hate, then you can understand where their mind is going, whether what color they are or not.
I hated this book. I really, for real, hated this book. It's not that the author did a bad job. I just think that he didn't create any likable characters. I don't feel like the author did a bad job. He just didn't create likable characters. Like, I hated Victor. I didn't care about Martha. The kid was cute, but that's okay. You know, it was no, in my personal opinion, there was no one to root for. You know, it's like watching racists fight against misogynists. It's like, I don't care who wins because I don't like either of you. You know, like, oh, I didn't find anyone that I liked in the book. I really didn't. Are we ready to go on to the next one? Or do you want to stay with, or do you have anything you want to say about this one?
So what do you rate this book then?
Okay, so for the Blackathon, we're doing a different rating system of 1 to 5 stars instead of 1 to 10. 1 to 10 will still be our rating system for our regular reviews. But for the Blackathon books, we decided to do a 1 to 5 because these books are being read super quick. Yeah, and it's like they're being read super quick, so we don't really have a lot of time to like digest them. So I don't want to be too harsh with a rating on it because it's read quickly. So for this book, I would give it a 2 out of 5 stars. And I would never read it again. Ever. Never. Never. Never.
Well, you know, when you hear the stories, for me, mine is a 4.
Okay, so 2 gives it a 4. And I give it a 2. So now for Lion's Blood by Stephen Barnes, which I liked a lot, even though it made me super uncomfortable. I'm going to tell you why, but it made me super uncomfortable in a really good way because it helped me to get to know something about myself that I hadn't personally even thought about. So in this book, this is African American alternate history. Instead of Europeans coming to colonize America, Africans have done it. And instead of Europeans, huh?
I said, oh, yes.
Yes. And instead of Africans being taken as slaves and brought to America, Europeans are being brought to America as slaves for Africans. So this story follows Aiden O'Dare. His sister and his mother, I believe his mother too, are brought over to America as slaves. And so like how it started off, it didn't really hurt my feelings, but I'm like, wait, what? So they had been like at some kind of, I'd say party, but it's not like a party. It was just, you know, celebration. And so he and his sister, I guess, went to sleep on the beach. And when they woke up, like the Africans were there like, okay, bro, you're ours now. I'm like, what? Yeah, so they straight got jacked off a beach. It's not funny. It's just funny to think about, like, they straight got jacked off a beach.
Yeah, but that happens in Roots.
It did. That's why I said it's not funny, but my mind works in odd ways. Anyway, so yeah, they're brought over to America. Aiden ends up making friends with Kai, the second son of the governor. The governor has 2 sons, Ali and Kai. Their names are really long, so we're just gonna stick with Ali and Kai. So he makes friends with Kai, and the book kind of details their friendships and of course the slavery type things that happen to Aiden. Aiden falls in love with a woman who I believe they do refer to as mulatto, but she's like half African and half white, or somewhere in there. And her story is really sad though, because like they stole her when she was like 7. They forced a ball of hashish, I think is weed. I think hashish is weed, right?
I don't smoke.
I don't smoke either, too. You don't smoke hashish.
Girl, you're more hip to this whole lingo than I am.
I don't. Yes, because I was born in the 1700s. I was born in the 1700s, so I know all of this stuff, you know. Yeah, I was around in the 1600s and stuff like that, so I was there. I was there for this fake history. So.
I know nothing of what these things are. People have to tell me because I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, they made her eat a ball of hashish and then they raped her when she was 7. So, and they just repeatedly raped her and taught her how to dance for men in a sexual way. And so when she thinks about sex, when the girl thinks about sex, she doesn't think about love. She thinks about, this is a profession. I've been taught to dance and move in a certain way. So, wait, am I getting into the second book or the first book? No, this is the first book. Yeah, this is the first book. So anyway, because there's a second book too. There's a part 2 to Lion's Blood. Anyway, something about this book that was very interesting. I don't know if the author intended to do this, but it's kind of a study in psychology. Here's why. The winners, the victors in this book are African Americans. The victors look like me. The slave owners, the ones doing all the crap and getting all the benefits, they look like me. They look like my family. So you would think, reading this book, I'd feel like, yay, we're the victors, this is wonderful. But no. Even though the slave owners were Africans, in my mind, I was identifying with Aiden, the pale, super white guy brought from Europe as a slave. In my mind, I identified with him not because he's a white man, but because his struggles were the same as the struggles that I know my ancestors went through. So that is very interesting. I didn't identify with the people who were actually me. I identified with the slaves. So they could have said Asian.
You can't separate the history. If you can't separate the history, then you're not going to be able to, like, it's not really going to go far.
It's not even the history, it's the mentality. It's like, I don't want to say that we have a slave mentality, but we have a mentality of, we came from this and here we are now. This is where we came from.
I saw it as a position of, even despite the fact that it's something that's rich, I personally felt like, well, it's just the same thing, just in reverse. I don't see no difference.
Yeah, it was the same thing in reverse.
Regardless of which, from one culture of people to another culture of people, you still have the same rotten, underhanded things going on. That's where my mind goes. And that's something that's not easily, I can't separate that regardless. So it's not about taking one side to another side. It's just all crap.
That's what I'm saying, like, not taking sides, but who I identified with in the book. Like, like when you're reading a book, in your mind, you have to become one of the players.
Take a side somewhere.
No, like...
Because it's like, what if it wasn't you? Because it's like almost saying, what if it was not black culture that this happened to, but white culture this happened to? And so when looking at it, who do you feel sympathy for? Going back to that other book, when you said the guy was Uncle Doc.
I don't feel no sympathy for him. I'm sorry.
But it still has that same kind of feeling in it. First, like, that's what I feel personally. It's like, I can't really quite separate it.
I don't think the author tried to make anyone choose sides. I don't think Stephen Barnes tried to make anyone choose sides. I think what he was trying to do was make you think. We had some technical difficulties. Battery died, ran out of memory, and got a phone call all at the same time. Murphy is a person, and his law rules my life. So,
you sound like a crazy person.
You never heard of Murphy's Law?
You still sound like a crazy person.
So she's never heard of Murphy's Law. So basically,
I still haven't. It made you sound like a crazy person.
Murphy's Law is basically whatever bad thing can happen will happen, so be prepared for it.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so yeah, Murphy is a real person and rules my life. So anyway, we were saying
That don't make it sound crazy.
We were saying my opinion on Lion's Blood was that the author didn't write it with the intent of choosing sides. He wrote it with the intent of making both sides feel uncomfortable. From an African American perspective, it feels uncomfortable to feel like the bad guy because we weren't the bad guy. We were the innocent people. From the European or white perspective, it's uncomfortable to feel like you are the person being taken advantage of, because you weren't the person taken advantage of. You were the person taking advantage. So it makes two sides of people equally uncomfortable, which forces both sides to think about the other's perspective. Now, you were saying that you felt like it wasn't, that you did have to choose sides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's like what if the shoe is on the other foot? See what that feels like. You know, it's kind of like, there's this movie that came out based on true story. Can't remember the name, A Time to Kill. And, yeah.
Can't remember the name, but Time to Kill.
Yeah. But what happens in that movie, you see how the justice was so different. And
is that with Morgan Freeman?
Oh, no, you didn't. It was with Samuel L. Jackson.
Wait, the white guy raped his daughter, right? His little girl?
Matthew McConaughey was in the movie. He was the lawyer defending Samuel L. Jackson because he had killed a white person.
Who raped his daughter, right?
Right.
Right, okay, I remember that movie. I remember.
Right. And so it kind of gives you the idea of like that, how would you truly feel if the shoe was on the other foot? Because it's usually take the sympathy and put the sympathy here. Because how people tend to stereotype life as it is. So it's kind of, to me, that's what it sounds like. It's like, we'll take sides here or take sides there. Like, but you have no other choice. So it's kind of like, who do you feel bad for? Should you feel bad at all? So that's why I'm saying it's like, it feels like you're taking the situation, it's all bad, no matter how you look at it. Whether it's a black person, a white person, or any sort of person of any other diversity. It doesn't matter. It's still exactly the same thing. It's just with a different spin.
But you said taking sides.
Hmm?
You said felt like taking sides, though.
But it is like, that's what I'm saying. That's the reason why it is like taking sides, is because you're being pulled one way or the other to do exactly that. Because it's like, how it's being perceived is as to say, I'm looking at this race of culture and what's going on. That hooray, huzzah, how you were just saying about how it's looked at as the black side of how you should look at it. Feel like, okay, yay, we won.
Mm-hmm.
Or the white side is saying, well, I still feel bad because of the situation, but it was the victim. Like, but it was like, no, but you did this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, see, from what you just said right there, it gives like the take side. You have to choose a side of what you want. Because you have so many things that play in race war. And it's a constant race war thing. That's why I'm saying you have to choose a side no matter how you're looking at it. Where you can't just see things combined as being just people. It's not seen like that. It take a side. What if it was you that this was actually happening to and not us? How would you perceive it then? That's why I'm saying it's like you have to take a side. No matter how you look at it, even though you feel like it's all, even though I'm saying, instead of taking a side, can't you just understand that it's all bad? That this is man treating man in very horrific ways that they just shouldn't? That's what I'm saying.
I feel like I was reading a history book or watching Roots or, something like that, like something you can't change.
It's just like Roots. It's just exactly the same thing because how it was set to the beach. And here it is, they're out there. You think you're just having fun, and then here it is, somebody from your own people, or maybe not your own people, comes along and says, I'm going to sell you off.
But I don't,
personal place.
When I read it, I didn't feel like I was taking, like, you read if you watch Roots, it doesn't turn you against white people, it shows you what your ancestors went through. So, like, right. I'm not mad at, white Jimmy who's walking by me. White Jimmy didn't do anything to me.
Right.
I don't feel any, closer to Shaniqua in the hood. Right. I just felt like this is my history, and I felt so bad for these people who had to endure all this for me to get to where I am right now. So I didn't feel like I was taking a side. I felt like I was just listening or reading history and hearing people's experiences and feeling bad for them.
Okay, I can see that part. I can see that point very well, too.
Like, I wasn't for what the Africans were doing to the Europeans in that, because the girl that Aiden fell in love with, the mixed girl, she ended up getting raped by, was it, I think Ali. No, it wasn't Ollie who raped her. I believe it was Kai's uncle raped her.
Andy? What is his name? Andy?
No, I forgot the uncle's name. But the uncle was married, right? Kai's uncle was married, and his wife died during childbirth. And so I think he bought Aiden's wife, and he was like horribly raping her, just horrible. Like, she was used to being raped. She was used to having sex against her will, and she'd even made it her will to have it. When she fell in love with Aiden, she kind of let her guard down a little bit. But Kai's uncle bought her, and he was horribly raping her like an animal, like just raping her and throwing her down. And it was just horrible, and it hurt. I didn't feel like because he was African it was okay, you know, and I didn't feel like because she was mixed it was okay. It felt bad. It would have felt bad either way. It was just, that's what I'm saying about who you identify with. I didn't identify with him being an African. I identified with her being a slave and raped and thrown away like garbage.
Okay.
There's even one time when she had to nurse his baby, right, that he had with his wife who died. And she also had to nurse her own baby who she had with Aiden. When she was saying that it was becoming too much for her, he was like, okay, well, maybe I should just let your baby die. Maybe I should just throw your baby out and let it die. And she pleaded with this man who had manhandled her, raped her, just thrown her around like she was nothing. She pleaded with this man for her baby to be able to live. That hurt me. I didn't feel like, okay, well, he's African and she's half white, so, you know, she got what she deserved. No, I felt like, yeah, like this is so horrible. Yeah, so I didn't identify with the victors, even though the victors look like me. I identified with the people who were slaves because of how they were being treated, and I know that's how our people were treated.
I can't help but this. I understand everything you're saying. I agree with what you're saying too. It's this is when you remove yourself from a certain mind because you don't feel those certain sort of things, then it doesn't do anything to you. You're not going to feel any sort of compassion in regard to how you treat a person. Is not going to make a difference, you know, because those emotions are not there, or more so they actually are there, but you choose not to feel them. You choose not to care when you could care. And many people, you know, they roam around on this earth just like that today. They did it then. There's people like that now. So I understand it, exactly what you're saying, but it still gives that feeling still too of just choose. What would you prefer? What would you like?
I don't know. I didn't get because he didn't make it sound like it was appealing. Like neither ways. Even like for the women who, for the black women, right? The Africans, women still didn't have it that great.
They don't have it really great now.
So, yeah, so it's like on both sides, it's like, you know, woman is a woman. They had it better than slaves. But in the grand scheme of things, they didn't have it that great. You know, so I wouldn't have chosen to be either. Just like if by some, you know, bout of science I was able to go back in time and, you know, choose if I wanted to be a white slave owner or a black slave, I wouldn't choose either, because neither of them is a good position to be in.
Right.
You know, so I wouldn't choose a side of either. I'd rather be living in New York somewhere, making a newspaper or something. You know, like not being a slave or being a slave owner. So next week is going to be week 4 of the Bookathon. So we're going to put out 2 videos in regards to Bookathon next week because we have to get everything. Next week is next week is week 4, right? Yeah, so we're gonna put out 2 videos next week. 3 videos actually. 1 video is gonna be our regular review. The second is going to be our first Blackathon week 4 review. The 3rd video for next week is going to be on The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, which is the book that everyone who's doing the Blackathon is supposed to read. I have some very strong opinions about that book right now, but I'm not going to share them. We're going to wait on it. Yeah. So I'm going to read Go Set a Watchman for the Blackathon review next week. 2, I think you said you're going to read
Not That.
Yes, A Promise Kept.
Yeah.
By T.C. Morgan, who's an African-American, who writes about African-American romance. That's a Japanese African-American romance.
Yeah, because we don't know what the person is.
Yeah, but the romance itself is between an African-American woman and a Japanese man, a promise cat. So she's going to read that. I'm going to read Ghost Set of Watchmen, and our book...
We'll collaborate.
Yes. And our book for review, I believe, is going to be Crimson Lake. I don't have it with me at the moment. I think it's on my bed or something. But yeah, Crimson Lake. I forgot the author's name, but it was in our Bookcase Club subscription for January. So yeah, that's been our Blackathon Week 3 book reviews. Tu, did you have anything you want to say?
No, I said everything earlier.
Okay, well, thank you so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you all on our next video. If you like what you saw, please
subscribe.
Yay! And subscribe and and hit the bell if you want to find out when our videos come out. If you want to be notified when our videos are coming out.
Or you want to be a part of it.
Yeah, be a part of it. Comment stuff. If you don't agree with what we said, comment. Let us know. If you read either Underground Airlines, which I kept calling airplanes. If you liked Underground, I don't know why I kept saying Underground Airplanes. But yeah, Underground Airlines, if you liked it more than I liked it, if you agree with Tu and you just loved it, you know, that's awesome. Let us know. Or if you agreed with me about Lion's Blood, you loved it, you know, and you disagreed with Tu, who kind of was like, blah, about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then let us know that too. Just let you know, if you're wondering why our opinions differ so much, Tu is more of an analytical reader, which means she can detach herself from the story or from the character. She can detach herself from the characters and just go about the story. Like, dang, Jane, I'm so sorry he cut you to little pieces. I'm hungry now. Me, on the other hand... Me, on the other hand, I am an emotional or biological reader. Like, I have to be able to identify with a character in the book, or I automatically hate the book. I don't care what the story is. If I can't identify with a character at least, just one.
See, that makes you
I hate it.
dangerous, though.
But I don't rate books on whether or not I can identify with the character or not. I rate it on what the book is about.
You won't be the woman from Misery one of these days. You keep this up. It's going to become real life to you. I don't care if you make that face. I know.
You can't see me. Oh my God. Anyway, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a great day. Like and subscribe if you like what you saw, and we'll hope to see you again next video. Bye.